Now that is how you do a Southern 500 Labor Day weekend. Well, I'm back. Hope you didn't miss me too much, but I'm back in perfect timing. We just had the Southern 500 at Darlington Raceway with Brad Keselowski getting the weekend sweep both Saturday at the Xfinity race and Sunday night with the Cup race. A lot of pit road problems and penalties, and a lot of people missing the entrance to pit road. That and more coming up in this review. Well, Throwback Weekend was well underway tonight for the fourth year in a row, I do believe, for the official NASCAR throwback race at Darlington Raceway, giving drivers and crews and the broadcasters all an opportunity to dress up both themselves and their cars in schemes and hairstyles, and letting the mustaches and mullets go, and to be reminiscent of the legends of the sport and the older days of NASCAR. And certainly interesting to see what all the teams come up with, and also interesting to see how some of the teams choose not to participate. Looking at you, Martin Truex Jr. Anyways, on to stage one. Denny Hamlin led the beginning laps. We saw him really dominant last year in 2017, winning. He had the weekend sweep last year, winning the Xfinity race and the Cup race. He had a really nice scheme this year, paying homage to himself, his early days driving late models, and fans really seem to like that one a lot. Anyways, Denny Hamlin did lead the beginning laps, but the 42 of Kyle Larson soon took charge. I wasn't really expecting Kyle Larson to be any threat this race, but he led majority of the race. It got a lot darker, a lot quicker this year, the day to night cycle, because of the weather delay. Good 30 to 45 minutes before the cue to fire engines finally did occur. They were waiting on lightning in the area to move out of the way before the race was going to begin. So it kind of already did push the race back a little bit behind schedule. Alex Bowman was the first driver to pit road in stage one with an unscheduled stop, had some issues with the car, or it simply could have been a strategy game, because pitting early is something very common at Darlington, and when they used to race at Rockingham, it would be the same way. The surface at those tracks really chews up on the good years. It chews up on the tires so much that at Darlington, you're not even able to make it through a full fuel run without getting more fresh rubber, or you will be off the pace. Eric Jones made progress in the early going. When they spoke to Eric Jones crew chief Chris Gale, they said that he did have a very good long run car, and that did show to be true in coming up in the second stage, as he would stay as a top contender. In the first round of green flag pit stops, Hamlin was a little too loose, Martin Truex Jr. was a little too tight, so all across the board as far as handling is concerned. 36 laps to go in stage one. Jimmy Johnson, again having problems in this season, had a loose wheel. He had to go to pit road, and while doing so, he had the first of many penalties we would see tonight. He had a commitment line violation penalty. That's that cone and line before you get to the entrance of pit road. At Darlington, it's especially hard to see as you come out of turn 4, and there's a lot of sand and dirt that gets on the apron there. And a lot of drivers tonight missed that pit road entry line, and caused a lot of them missed it. At the end of stage one, Austin Dillon in the number 3, paying tribute to the 1995 All-Star scheme that Dale Earnhardt drove, the silver with the orange 3. Anyway, he didn't want to go a lap down. He was almost a lap down when Kyle Larson was coming up behind him. Got a little bump there at the end of stage one on Kyle Larson's car. He wasn't too happy about that. Nonetheless, Kyle Larson would end up winning stage one. Right at the line, William Byron in the 24 would stay on the lead lap. He would get the lucky dog. Larson kept the lead after the routine pit stops. Now on to stage two. Penalties show up again as Eric Jones, near the beginning of stage two, received an uncontrolled tire penalty on pit road. Now we see our first actual caution of the day, number 23 of Joey Gase, hit hard into the inside front straight wall, and Joey Gase managed to hit Kyle Busch, paying tribute to Ernie Irvin in a late 90s Ernie Irvin scheme. And the Skittles car had to fix his right front after a hit with Joey Gase in the 23. After that restart, Martin Truex Jr. would take the lead, with Kevin Harvick following just second and under behind. Martin Truex Jr. was making it really hard on not only the four's patience, but also his tires, making him take lines he didn't really want to take. Clint Bowyer had to come onto pit road with a loose wheel during green flag conditions. After another set of green flag pit stops, Kyle Larson came back out onto the lead with 30 laps to go. As for the rest of stage 2, it wasn't very eventful until the end, whenever Kyle Larson was kind of taking it easy with his steady lead. And on the final lap of stage 2, his crew chief told him to go ahead and lap Austin Dillon in the 3, kind of as a payback for what happened in the events of the end of stage 1. So you could tell he quickly just gassed it and went right by Austin Dillon right at the nick of time at the end to put the 3 a lap down. So your stage 2 winner, again, Kyle Larson, stage 1, stage 2 winner. Chase Elliott works his way into P2 with Joey Logano following closely behind in P3 at the beginning of the final stage. A little later, a right front tire came down for the Monterey Missile of Daniel Suarez in the number 19 after rubbing the wall. And then more problems for Jimmy Johnson in the 48 as he lost all of his oil pressure, and he had to take it to the garage, and it would have to be, in his day, unfortunately, was done. This is his 4th DNF of the season. Things not really looking up too well for Chad Knaus and the 48 team. And then Austin Dillon gets a tire violation, and he has to do a pass-through penalty. And then Alex Bowman in the 88 gets a tire violation as well. These new pit road rules this year, you can't have tires running, like, you can't have tires walking by themselves on pit road. You have to have a hand on the tires. You can't it's too dangerous to have these tires walking around by themselves, if you will. And then they get Jamie McMurray for a commitment line violation. He has to do a pass-through. That one was kind of debatable for me. If you go back and look at it, he barely missed it. I feel like it's kind of cutting it close as far as the rule book goes, but NASCAR says the rules are the rules, so I guess in slow motion, they probably did make the right call. And Matt Kenseth is no exception for getting this commitment line violation. Everybody was just getting snagged by this commitment line violation penalty, like I mentioned earlier. Later, we get a huge wreck with Clint Bowyer in the 14 paying tribute to Ned Jarrett, and number 31 of Ryan Newman paying tribute to Neil Bonnet in the early 90s. Clint Bowyer's spotter didn't realize that Ryan Newman was going to be pitting. Coming into turn 3, chaos ensued. Ryan Newman waved out of his window net, kind of signaling that he was going to be pitting, which is standard procedure, but there was a car in between him and Clint Bowyer, and neither Clint nor the spotter or his spotter realized that Ryan Newman would be coming down the inside, and it caused Clint Bowyer to hit Ryan Newman and hit the wall a couple of times, and it would also be his 4th DNF of the season. He didn't take too kindly to having another DNF. He blamed lapped cars such as Derek Cope. I think he's mentioned Derek Cope one too many times before. I think other drivers have mentioned Derek Cope as well as being on the track several laps down and being in the way, and it's hard to tell who you're really racing because there's so many lap cars out on the track. 39 laps to go. There's another caution because of debris, and the number 24 of William Byron's oil pressure goes down low. That's the second Hendrick car of the night to have oil pressure problems. And then the next caution was for Jeffrey Earnhardt in the 96, paying tribute to a old Dale Senior scheme. It was just it just seemed like he spun on his own out of the race. This was the caution flag pit stop that really changed the outcome of the race. Brad Keselowski and his team had a really nice pit stop, put him out in P1 with 20 laps to go in the Southern 500, and that was enough to do it. There was some hard battles between Kyle Larson and Kevin Harvick. Kyle was able to keep in front of Harvick. They were trying to outbrake each other, almost made contact, but some good driving from the both of them. Penske had not won at Darlington since 1975 with Bobby Allison, but tonight they were able to do it. They finished 1 and 2. So Brad Keselowski is your race winner. This is his first win of 2018. Locks himself in the playoffs. He, as you can see, you may not be able to see on this graphic here, he was already fine in the playoffs by points alone. Oh no, my monitor shut off. Hold up. Come back. There we go. Yeah, he was already fine with some playoff points, but now he's got that win that will solidify him into the playoff hunt. A lot of teams that you think wouldn't be having problems are having problems this year, and it's just a really unpredictable year. But still, a really nice day for Team Penske with the 1-2 finish. I really enjoyed watching this race. I remember going to Darlington in 2003 as a kid, and we were just there to see qualifying. And I believe that was the big race where Kurt Busch and Ricky Craven went at it at the line, and Ricky Craven took the win, leading only the last lap. It was one of those "have you ever, no I've never" kind of finishes, as Darrell Waltrip and Larry Mack would say. So that was the 2018 Bojangles Southern 500. Next week, we've got the Brickyard 400, another landmark event on the calendar. Another chance for one of these winless drivers to make a statement for the playoffs. Can't wait to see you there. Thank you for watching this video. If you like what you saw, please be sure to give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, why don't you go ahead and subscribe and be here for the rest of the season. It is very late, so I waited. Maybe I should have waited till morning to film this. I decided to film it right after the race. I'm kind of sleepy, so hopefully this turned out well. I might have to redo some parts of this review. Until the next review, I'm William Crossland. Thanks for listening.